Hi everyone, this is Renata Gomidi and we are here with the Ideas for Diva Videocast. So today we are going to talk about financial freedom, earning passive income through real estate investing. So we are here with Axel. I can't pronounce your last name, sorry about that. So you're going to tell me about your name and your experience when you introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So the full name is Axel Meierhoefer, and Renata, thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. Do you want me to
can you tell me about yourself and your business and
why? So the reason it's so hard to pronounce is because it's a pretty traditional, relatively old German name. So I'm also relatively old from Germany. And I came to the US 26, almost 27 years ago with the Air Force. I was in the German Air Force, got a chance to do an exchange job with the US Air Force, flew for them for a few years. And then in 2000, 2001, I retired. And the question was, do we go back or do we stay here? And I immediately got a job offer and went a little bit into the civilian world for a few years and then went into consulting.
And then you became the ideal wealth grower.
Not immediately, but over time, yeah, we became the ideal wealth grower. Exactly. Yeah.
Great. So in the Ideas for Divas definition, divas are authentic. So they set new trends and they don't care about others' opinions and establish standards and norms. So do you identify yourself with this definition?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great. And I really hope that you, and maybe with my little bit of help today, we can get more divas to do exactly that.
Awesome. Okay, so first question about how you're going to help us today, actually. So how can we start a real estate investing journey with as little as $50 a month?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say it's basically fundamentally 3 steps. The first step is you want to do, and it sounds very scientific, it's not really that big a deal or that hard, but you want to do kind of like an analysis of what is your current financial situation, your current financial status. That means, you know, what money do I get? How do I get it? Where does it come from? What am I spending money on? Where does it go? What have I purchased with it? What are my habits? How do I deal with the money? And what is been developed or what have I created with my money so far? Just to basically, and I always feel this is an important kind of foundational first step to say, well, we need to basically be open with each other. You mentioned authentic, right? Open with each other to say, okay, this is what I have right now. Then the second step that I find equally important, and I'm using this in the mentoring programs that we have, is to basically look at what is your vision in 2 ways. One is in about 7 to 10 years and big picture longer term, if you want to go longer term. And the reason for that is you need something that energizes you to stay on a path. Now, I'm not saying the path that we're suggesting is the one and only path that gets you there, but if you, for example, were to join us, there needs to be some energy. And I found we have a lot more emotional energy when we have a really desirable goal and we can keep envisioning how we will feel, how our life will look like if we actually, and when we actually get to that point. Now, that's not here we are today and then just a black period and then we are there, but there are multiple steps and multiple milestones to get there. But that fuel, it's kind of like fuel you put in an engine that keeps you going and keeps you take action to actually reach that goal. And then the third component of that 3-step process is to basically develop certain understanding in your mindset. And what I mean by that is your mindset needs to become that of a businesswoman or a businessman and not of a victim of your circumstances. So one of the things, and your audience is more than welcome to do it. If you go to our website, you can download a mindset menu that I created that takes you through a couple of exercises. There's also an 8-part video series on idealwealthgrower.com and Ideal Wealth Grower YouTube channel that goes along with that. And the idea there is to say, let's see where you are, similar to your financial situation, but more from a mindset perspective. Is your mindset very much into like a victimhood? Is your mindset already developing in more of a creative way, or are you somewhere in between? and then give some ideas and a nice little story and so forth to find out, okay, where am I and where can I and what can I do to improve my mindset? And people that join our program, I'm always trying to help both with the steps to take, but with, teaching and stuff like that, but also with the whole behavioral development to get to a mindset where, if you and I were to work together, I would want you to become the queen of the Go-Mite empire. Mm-hmm. Not just by saying so, but really by feeling it, by acting like that, by communicating like that, by putting the energy in. And as the queen of the Go-Mite empire, you will also, with my help, if you like, get the financial foundation and the financial assets that make you independent, where nobody can actually ever rock that foundation again. That's kind of like the 3 steps. And the first step is when you identify the financial situation to say, okay, how much can you spare per month, or how much do you have available to invest? That's the result of the analysis. If you find out, well, I'm pretty much using most of the money that I make every month for affording my life, then I would say if you at least have $50, you can learn all the things that I teach anybody who wants to buy a whole building or a duplex or a triplex by doing it in $50 steps. Now, your journey will be very long if you never get any better than $50 a month. But you can, and this is what I think is a really, really important message for people to realize, you can do real estate investing with passive income, with tenants and properties that you own at $50 a month increments.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm going a little bit off script here because I want to ask you a question. So I'm saving money now to buy my first home. So I don't have a home now. Yes. Is it the right mindset, or should I be like investing in real estate even before I have the money to buy a beautiful home? And I live in California, so prices are really high here. Am I doing the right thing, or should I change my strategy?
Well, I don't want to be too harsh, but since we said we're going to be authentic with each other, it's probably the wrong thing.
Oh my God.
But I tell you why, and your audience. The thing is, I look at it at the question, who wins in a deal, or who has a better outcome in a deal? Mm-hmm. So let's say my area, I'm in the San Diego area, the average house price here, the medium average house price has now gotten above $700,000. Mm-hmm. Right? So now when you say, okay, and this is for like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house or something with a little bit of a garden around it and stuff, nothing super fancy or mansion or anything like that. So let's just take that number, $700,000. Now let's say you are a first-time home buyer and you only need to put 5% down. So that $35,000, you can probably get there. But when you ask yourself, you could rent this $35,000 house, $700,000 house, probably for $3,500 to $4,000 a month, mm-hmm. Right? That's, at least in my area, reasonably expected, maybe $4,500. Mm-hmm. Anywhere in that range. Now flip the script around and say, imagine you were the owner of this house and Renata were the tenant. Mm-hmm. As the owner, and that is what I teach our mentoring clients, for anything that is relatively new built in the last few years or brand new, you want to try to get to a 0.8% ratio between the rent and the price. So if you do this for your $700,000 house, that would be $5,600. Mm-hmm. If you get a house that is a little older, like built in the 80s, 70s, even 90s now, you want to get closer, if you can, to 1%, right? So that would be $7,000. Now, I know nobody is paying $7,000 rent or $5,600 rent for a regular little 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Mm-hmm. So then to the question to say, is it smart to buy this house and live in it, or would it be smarter to rent that house? In this question between you being a tenant or you being an owner, in this case, when the house is $700,000 or something in that area, then you be the winner if you're the tenant, mm-hmm. Right? Now, what does that mean for the flip side? Why would I say you're probably better off investing first? Is because you can say, okay, I find myself a place, house or a condo or townhouse or something for $3,500. And then I should have, because if you could afford a $700,000 house, you should have some money left over more than $50 a month. Take that money and invest it together with your, if you wanted to buy the house, you needed to have at least those $35,000. That means you can buy now a $150,000 to $200,000 house in an area in the country where the performance is better, where you get to this 0.8 to 1% or somewhere in between. Then you are the winner, right? You're winning in that deal where you have a $150,000 house and you find a tenant for $1,350. You only have to basically collect that money through property management. It's somewhere 1,000, 2,000 miles away, but it's an investment and you're living for rent. So it really, the answer is not, can I make a mistake by buying a house as a residence or investing first? The answer is really dependent on where you are. If you live, or any of your audience lives in what most people would call a relatively expensive area.
Yeah.
You can basically say up and down the West Coast from like San Diego all the way to Vancouver. I don't know that there's any stretch where it's really cheap. Same thing on the East Coast, right? Up and down from the Canadian border all the way down to Richmond is pretty expensive everywhere. And then also some really major cities are expensive, especially when you want to live close to the city. Those really expensive areas, in vast majority of cases, you will not be the winner if you are the owner of the residence. Right? At least not initially. And you have to keep in mind, if you say my first step is to buy my own residence in a relatively expensive area, then the vast majority of your money every month goes into paying the mortgage and the insurance and the property tax and maybe HOA and all of that. So not only are you not the winner in that deal, but you're also kind of robbing yourself a little bit of the ability to develop, to be the winner of other deals somewhere else, just because you don't have the money. You see? So that's why I'm saying, you know, you want to really analyze the situation, say if high price area, I win if I'm the tenant, lower price area, I win if I'm the owner.
Great point. I think I need to join your mentorship program.
Yeah, hey, you're more than welcome.
I'm not doing the right things. I'm just just trying to build money to buy a house. And I'm going to tell you, my region is a little bit higher than the 700 average.
Yeah, I just grab what I know here in my area. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, the principle is really, if you look around and you find out anything between 0.8 or 1%, you can run it with 0.8%, 0.9%, 1% of the price that you would have to pay. And imagine if that's a realistic rent income. If the answer is no way it's going to pay somebody $5,600 or $6,000 or $7,000 or $8,000 rent, then you know you're better off to be the tenant.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And I just learned a lot in the last 5 minutes. Next questions. How can we get from the $50 a month to $1 million?
Well, for one, this initial financial analysis I have found is you want to generate excitement, right? I mentioned earlier in step 2 and 3, we think about and get our mindset in both the business owner, the diva as a business owner, as well as the diva as somebody who is emotionally connected to him, to her goals and the feeling that you associate with, okay, I don't have to work. I have the freedom to do with my time the most valuable thing I have in my life, my time. I have the freedom to decide what I want to do with it because I reached a point where the passive income from my investments is enough to pay for my life, right? That's kind of milestone number 1 before you get what I call bullshit money and you can buy stuff that you don't really need. But first, you want to get to the point where enough money comes in to cover all your expenses. That's the first part of the journey. So the mindset of, like I said, the Gomite Queen or Queen of Gomite Empire, business, and the energy, emotional energy for the mindset. And now you go and say, okay, so how motivated am I? Right? And you might ask yourself, okay, Axel told me I could get this beautiful coffee maker because I'm into coffee or tea or whatever you're into. And then I buy this stuff and the cup costs $1, or I can go out with all my friends and buy $5 cups at Starbucks. Right? If you do this 20 times a month, basically the 20 days a month that you work, that's $100. So now it's not 1 token for $50. Now it's 3 tokens for $50. The 50 that you spend anyway, and 2 extra ones just for coffee. Right? Then you say, okay, well, what other things do I do? and how much do I really need them in comparison? That's the tricky part, and motivating and energizing part. If somebody just comes to you and says, Renata, what of the things that you spend money on every month do you really need? It's hard to say what you really need or not. But if you can associate it with, if I reduce a little bit now, so I can do all these cool things in 7 to 10 years in the future, you will be amazed how much that could be. And then the other question is there anything that I know about myself that I'm good at now that we are living in a kind of semi-post-pandemic world where we don't necessarily have to spend 3 hours a day to drive to an office and stuff like that, that could make me some extra money. This is basically accelerator or additional fuel to get to your dream state. Right? If you say, I can do something that pays me another $200-300 a month, or you fill in the blank, whatever number that might be. And that is not money that you needed before. You're just spending your time smarter, and we can work about and together with how does it look like? What are your talents that help with that? Now you have the 50 plus the 100 from the coffee, plus maybe 200, 300, 400 a month from something extra that you do. Well, you can see if you do this and you do this consistently, you can in 15 to 20 months have enough for the first investment property, even if you only had $50 at the start. And obviously, when that property starts paying you something, right, then you have the opportunity. Let's say you buy $150,000 property and that makes $200, $250 a month. And you used to save and put in 500. Now you have 750. Now it doesn't take 15 or 20 months anymore. It only takes 12 months for the next one. And so, that's kind of how it goes step by step as you grow your portfolio.
That makes total sense. I think that I'm going to start saving money on the small things now, because the small becomes big. So thank you. That has been great. I think I learned a lot. So for everybody who is listening today, I think that if, like me, you feel that you need more advice, go to ideawealthgrower.com and you're going to find more information, how to join the mentorship. And also subscribe to Ideas for Divas in the website and also in the YouTube channel, so you can see more of videos like that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.